A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Episode 6, is the season finale. Egg almost kills Arian. Red hooks up with Raymun, and a flashback reveals the truth of Dunk's knighthood. So what happens, what does it mean, and how does the show compare to the book? This video has no spoilers for future episodes, except for the spoiler zone at the end of this video. Most of this episode is not in the book. In the book, after Dunk's trial, there's just the funeral, then the Valarr conversation, then one conversation with Maekar, then Dunk and Egg leave. The TV show expands this, adding new scenes with the side characters, and more deeply exploring Dunk's decision to take Egg. The episode starts with 17 seconds of smooth jazz. Even after the violence and tragedy, this show is still whimsical and funny. After his fight with Arian, Dunk is badly hurt, and Dunk feels terrible that Prince Baelor and Harding and Beesbury died for him. Dunk's dream of knighthood at the tourney turned into a terrible, traumatic nightmare. But Lyonel Baratheon acts like this was all good fun, like he doesn't care about the deaths. Lyonel seems to have a crush on Dunk, so Lyonel asks Dunk to come with him to Storm's End. Storm's End is the home of House Baratheon. Lyonel says he and Dunk can hunt, hawk, sail, party, and train together. Lyonel's descendant, Robert Baratheon, likes all of those same activities, except Robert doesn't sail, because Robert's father Steffan died in a shipwreck. Lyonel mentions Tarth. Tarth is an island off the Stormlands, and Tarth is the home of Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones. In the books, Brienne sees Dunk's shield at Tarth some 80 years from now, and author George Martin reportedly said that Dunk and Brienne are related. Dunk and Brienne are both honourable, true knights, who technically aren't knights. Lyonel says he'll love Dunk like a brother, or he'll hate Dunk like a brother. This episode shows Egg's hate for his brother Arian, and it shows Maekar's complex feelings for his brother Baelor. Sometimes we love and hate the people closest to us. The books say that love and hate are two faces of the same coin. Lyonel curses, saying, "The others fucking gelled me." The others means White Walkers. In the books, White Walkers are usually called the others. The others are mentioned in curses, like saying, "The others take me." This is the first time that any Thrones show has used the term the others. Gelding means cutting off testicles, so when Lyonel says "others geld me," he's saying "White Walkers take my balls." Dunk thinks that Prince Baelor Targaryen was a great man and would have been a great king if he hadn't died for Dunk. But Lyonel says it's good that Baelor died, because Lyonel hates Targaryens and wants them all dead, just like his descendant Robert hates Targaryens.
I'll kill every Targaryen I get my hands on.
Lyonel says there's a war coming.
There's a war coming, Ned.
Is Lyonel planning rebellion against the royal family? Raymun and Steffan also hate the Targaryens, calling them mad tyrants. And the Blackfire Rebellion was just 13 years ago. There may be other rebels around. 70 years from now, Lyonel's descendant Robert defeats the Targaryens and takes their throne. Lyonel says Baelor was a fraud, because in the trial, Baelor fought against his own Kingsguard, who were sworn to protect Baelor. He also fought his brother Maekar and nephews Arian and Daeron, who presumably wouldn't want to kill Baelor. So, in theory, this trial should have been quite safe for Baelor. Joining Dunk was not as brave and heroic as it seemed. Lyonel and Harding and Beesbury and Raymun and Robin did take a bigger risk than Baelor did. Still, Baelor died, so Lyonel's tantrum doesn't make much sense. Maybe Lyonel's just upset that Dunk won't go on a date with him. Dunk feels like he is a fraud, because it seems that Dunk lied about being a knight to join this tournament, and Dunk's lie led to Baelor's death, so he feels this is all his fault. The actor says Dunk wishes he was dead. Dunk's broken shield shows his broken spirit. Lyonel has a fancy walking stick made of Baratheon antlers, while humble, simple Dunk just has a big stick. Lyonel says that he'll leave after the roast, and by roast, Lyonel doesn't mean a meal, he means the cremation, where they roast Baelor's body. Prince Baelor's funeral is a surprisingly small event. Baelor has a big family, and most of them aren't here. It would take days or weeks for the royal family to travel from King's Landing to Ashford, so maybe this is just a quick cremation ceremony, then there'll be a big royal funeral at King's Landing. Some houses bury their dead. The Valarions bury at sea. The Beesburys inter Humphrey Beesbury in bees. But the Targaryens are the blood of the dragon, so their ends are writ in flame. Baelor was only 39 in the books. He was heir to the throne, hand of the king, and he was one of the best knights alive, so some thought Baelor should be cremated in armor. But his father, King Daeron, values peace, not war. So Baelor is burned in Targaryen clothes and a thin golden helmet that shows his face. The camera lingers on Baelor's brother Maekar, racked with grief and guilt because he accidentally killed Baelor. Egg is in his big hat. He's dressed as Prince Aegon Targaryen, not as Egg. This episode decides Egg's future as either a prince at Summerhall or Dunk's humble squire Egg. Baelor's son, Prince Valarr, is now the heir to the throne. The woman with pink hair is Valarr's wife, Kiera of Tyrosh. The books don't say what Kiera looks like, but fan artists like Riot the Right draw Kiera with pink hair, because Kiera is from Tyrosh, and the Tyroshi famously dye their hair. It looks like the creators of this show used fan artists' ideas, making Kiera's pink hair canon. Manfred Dondarrion is at the funeral because Manfred is related to Prince Valarr's mother, Jenna Dondarrion. Next to Manfred are two girls with pale hair. They might be Targaryens, like they could be the daughters of Baelor's brother Prince Rhaegal, though according to the books these girls would be younger. This older, pale-haired woman could be Aelena Targaryen, or even Dana the Defiant. This older, pale-haired man could be a bastard of King Aegon IV. He's probably not King Daeron because he's too old and he's not wearing a crown and it would take a while for him to travel here. Maybe these two are just random nobles with pale hair. The Kingsguard, Donal and Roland, are here, but the third Kingsguard, Willem Wild, isn't. In the book, Willem was hurt in the trial. Afterwards, we see Silent Sisters, the women who prepare the dead. It looks like they're putting Baelor's ashes into a fancy Targaryen urn. Dunk talks with Baelor's son, Valarr, and we finally get a good look at Valarr's hair. In the show and the book, Valarr has mostly dark hair, like his father Baelor and grandmother Miria Martell, but he does have a streak of pale Targaryen hair. The book says that Valarr was a shorter, slimmer, handsomer version of Baelor. In the book, Valarr has blue eyes, but in the show, the actor has heterochromia. His eyes are two different colors. Baelor's actor wears a contact lens so that he also has two different colored eyes, connecting father and son. Valarr says that Baelor died in Valarr's armor. If Valarr had refused to lend Baelor his armor, or if Valarr had joined Dunk instead of Baelor, his father might still be alive. Valarr asks why the gods would kill the great Prince Baelor and leave Dunk. Is there meaning in death? Is there destiny? Or does tragedy strike at random? People stare at Dunk, because he caused this historical trial where the heir to the throne died. Some people might see Dunk as a hero, but some see him as the cause of Baelor's death. Raymun Fossaway gives Dunk a big hug. Raymun has been a great friend to Dunk. Raymun's cousin Stefan betrayed Dunk and joined Aerion. Stefan wanted Raymun to keep being his squire, but Raymun left Stefan and joined Dunk instead and fought against Stefan. So Stefan got pissed off and sees Raymun as a traitor, when Stefan is the real traitor. Raymun had his shield repainted, changing the red Fossaway apple to a green Fossaway apple, to show that Raymun is different to his dishonorable cousin. Raymun's green apple Fossaways start a whole new branch of the Fossaway family that still exists as a separate house 90 years later in the main Game of Thrones books. Even the shape of this shield looks like an apple. Raymun hooked up with Red. Red is the sex worker who Dunk met in episode 1. Red had been having sex with Manfred Dondarrion. We saw her with Manfred during the trial, cheering for Dunk. But now Red says her name is Lady Rowan. Rowan is the name of Red's actor, Rowan Robinson. So it seems like Red is lying, pretending that she's an upper-class lady, and hiding that she did sex work. Red claims that she's pregnant with Raymun's son, so that Raymun will marry her. So Red will go from a sex worker at the bottom of the social hierarchy to a noble lady, Rowan Fossaway. She'll be the mother of the new Green Apple House Fossaway family. Red lies about her social status, just like how Dunk lies about his social status. Dunk lies about being a knight, Red lies about being a fancy lady. They both invent a new name. Dunk becomes Sir Duncan, Red becomes Lady Rowan. Dunk uses knightly combat, Red uses sex, doing what they can to get better lives. Egg also lies about his name and social status. We usually think of heroes as honest and lies as bad, but maybe in an unfair, unequal world, you've sometimes gotta bend the rules to survive. Maekar reads a book, like how Valarr read books. Maybe Maekar is trying to be like his dead big brother. Maekar is sending his son Arlan to the Free Cities in the east. He hopes that this will make Arlan a better person. In the book, Maekar sends Arlan to Lys. Lys is a beautiful tropical island known for its brothels and its slaves. A holiday on Sex Slave Island is probably not going to make Arlan a better person, but it seems to be the best idea that Maekar's got. Last episode, Rafe wanted to go east to the Free Cities, and Rafe died in her struggle to achieve this goal. But privileged Prince Arlan gets to go east like it's nothing as a supposed punishment. Maekar says that he killed Valarr by accident. The books say that it was almost certainly an accident. Maybe on some subconscious level, Maekar did deliberately kill Valarr because he was jealous of his more popular, more powerful brother. Like Lyonel said, love like a brother, hate like a brother. In this world, one of the worst crimes is kinslaying, killing your own family. No man is as cursed as the kinslayer. Maekar will feel haunted by this guilt for the rest of his life. Dunk could hate Maekar. Maekar helped cause this trial. Maekar hit Dunk in the head yesterday, but in the book, Dunk feels a queer sympathy for Maekar. If Dunk hadn't won his trial, the Targaryens would have cut off Dunk's hand and foot for punching and kicking Arlan. It's as though Prince Valarr died so that Dunk could keep his foot. Why would the gods do that? Dunk says maybe someday the realm will need Dunk's foot more than it needed Valarr. If you want to know if that's true, watch the spoiler zone at the end of this video. In the book, Maekar says perhaps there are no gods, perhaps none of this had any meaning. Maekar asks Dunk to come work for him at Summerhall. Summerhall is a Targaryen castle in the Stormlands. Summerhall is more a comfortable palace rather than a military castle. King Daeron built Summerhall to commemorate his peace with Dorne. Maekar wants Dunk to be a knight at Summerhall, with Egg as his squire. At the start of the story, Dunk dreamed of an opportunity like this. Dunk said he wanted to work in a castle, and Dunk begged to serve Valarr. Summerhall would be one of the best, most comfortable, most prestigious positions possible, way easier than the life of a traveling hedge knight. But now, after everything that happened, Dunk wants nothing to do with princes. This family almost killed him yesterday, and Egg helped cause a lot of the trouble. Dunk used to believe that princes and knights were good and honorable, but after meeting the cruel Prince Arlan and the cowardly Prince Daeron, the arrogant Sir Manfred and the treacherous Sir Stefan, he sees that this whole world of nobles and royals is corrupt and destructive. The life that Dunk believes in is the humble life of a hedge knight, the life he learned from Arlan. So Dunk refuses Maekar's offer. Egg spies on Maekar and Dunk's conversation, like how Dunk spied on Maekar and Baelor's conversation earlier. Dunk apologizes for leaving Egg, and Egg says that Dunk is not the knight he thought he was, like Dunk is not the kind and loyal friend who Egg thought he was. Their warmth and brotherly love seems gone. The trappings of princehood put distance between Egg and Dunk. We see a flashback to Dunk and Arlan. Or maybe it's an imagined conversation, because this scene doesn't have the dark vignette border that the other flashbacks have. They're on the hill where Arlan dies. Arlan has the same wound on his arm that he has when Dunk buries him, so it seems like this is shortly before Arlan dies. Arlan talks about Pennytree, the village Arlan came from. Pennytree is in the Riverlands, between the castles of House Blackwood and House Bracken. In the books, Jaime Lannister visits Pennytree. It has a big oak tree, covered in pennies nailed to the trunk. Jaime wonders why there are pennies on the tree, but he doesn't want to spoil the mystery. Author George Martin might have been planning to explain this mystery in a later book, but we get the answer now. Arlan says that when Pennytree boys go to war, they nail a penny to the tree. If they survive the war and come home, they take their penny down. But there are hundreds of pennies on the tree. Hundreds of boys dead in war. Arlan's nephew Roger was one of them. Dunk asks why Arlan never knighted him. This seems to finally reveal that Dunk has been lying all along. Dunk is not really a knight. Dunk asks if Arlan was afraid that Dunk would leave Arlan. Dunk and Arlan both lost close friends, Rafe and Roger. They need each other, like how Dunk and Egg need each other. But Arlan doesn't answer Dunk's question. He seems to pretend to die, or he loses consciousness. Arlan wakes again, but he doesn't say why he didn't knight Dunk. Maybe Arlan didn't knight Dunk because the life of a hedge knight is so hard and dangerous. Maybe Arlan doesn't want Dunk to become another dead boy, like the Pennytree boys and Roger. Or maybe it's the same reason why Dunk doesn't knight Raymun. Maybe Arlan also lied about being a knight. Dunk seems haunted by not knowing. Did his father figure not think that he was good enough? The showrunner says that it's still unconfirmed if Arlan knighted Dunk. It is possible that Arlan knighted Dunk right after this scene. It's kept deliberately ambiguous, because the point is that a knighting ceremony isn't what makes a true knight. Aerion and Stefan were knighted, and they are assholes. A true knight is someone who lives by the values of honor, chivalry, protecting the innocent. Dunk lives by those values when he protects Tanzil, when he guides Egg, when he stays true to the humility and morality that he learned from Arlan. That's why Dunk is a true knight, and that's why he's a hero, even if he was never really knighted. Arlan says a true knight always finishes a story. Author George Martin hasn't finished writing the Game of Thrones book series. He hasn't finished writing the Dunk and Egg book series, or the Fire and Blood history series. Will George finish his story? We see the bee coffin of Humphrey Beesbury, the bee knight of Honeyholt. Rest in peace, sweet prince. Characters drink to the memory of Beesbury and Harding, which is a bit awkward because the Kingsguard who killed Beesbury and Harding is standing right there. Red jokes that Raymun's brain is all applesauce. With her apple puns, Red fits right in with her Fossaway fiance's family. Prince Daeron Targaryen is injured from the trial. He's got a nasty cut on his face, and it looks like he's lost part of his ear. Dunk is angry because Daeron's lie that Dunk kidnapped Egg is part of what caused the trial and caused Baelor's death. Daeron doesn't try to defend himself. Daeron knows he did wrong, but he's given up on himself, like Maekar gave up on him. But Daeron does do something good. He asks Dunk to take Egg as squire. Daeron says that their brother Aerion wasn't always a cruel, violent monster. Aerion used to be a glad child who liked fishing, just like Egg is a glad child who likes fishing.
Like fishing.
Daeron suggests that their toxic family and the privileged life of a royal prince is what made Aerion cruel and violent. So Egg might become a better person if he spends time with Dunk instead, learning a humbler way of life. Daeron warns that Egg might go mad.
Are you mad?
Is that relevant?
In the main series, Barristan says that madness and greatness are two sides of the same coin. Every time a new Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin and the world holds its breath. There have been some mad and terrible Targaryens, like Mad King Aerys and King Maegor the Cruel. Sometimes madness is connected to prophetic dreams, like Daeron and King Viserys' dreams. There is greatness and ambition in Targaryen blood, but dreams can also lead to madness and fiery destruction. That dragon is within Egg. Egg looks at his pale Targaryen hair growing back. He can shave it, he can hide it, but that Targaryenism is within him. Violence and hate is within him. So Egg takes a knife from an ominous, unappetizing fish, and he approaches his wounded brother Aerion. Egg hates Aerion because Aerion used to threaten Egg with a knife. Aerion attacked Tanzil. Aerion tried to kill Egg's friend Dunk. That's part of why Egg was avoiding his family, to get away from Aerion. Now Egg considers killing his brother while he's weak. But Maekar stops Egg. Maekar just killed his brother Baelor. He won't let Egg kill his brother Aerion. This family is destroying itself. Maekar and Egg are both fourth-born sons. They both have hate and love for their brothers. They have much in common, but they fail to communicate. Egg said earlier that he doesn't really know his father. Maekar does love Egg, but Dunk is a way better father figure to Egg than Maekar is. Gwyn Ashford is the daughter of Lord Ashford. This whole tournament was meant to be Gwyn's birthday party, but her birthday somehow turned into an ugly bloodbath where 3 men died. It was not the celebration that she wanted, but Gwyn is mature and thoughtful and says that Dunk did the right thing. Dunk tells Maekar that he will take Egg as squire, but not at Summerhall, only on the road as a travelling hedge knight. Daeron convinced Dunk that the life of a pampered prince with Maekar is bad for Egg. But Maekar is offended. For Prince Aegon Targaryen to live as a peasant would undermine the whole idea of royal Targaryen superiority, and Maekar doesn't want to let go of his son. Maekar is not a great father, and most of his sons are not great sons, but he still wants to love and protect them, like when Maekar protected Aerion in the trial. Maekar says Egg is his last son. Egg is literally Maekar's last-born, youngest son, but Egg is also the last son who Maekar feels hope for. Aerion's going away, Aemon is in Old Town becoming a maester, Daeron seems lost to alcohol and despair, so Maekar sees Egg as his last hope for a good son, his last chance to be a good father. So Dunk leaves, defeated. Arlan and Dunk had 3 horses, the warhorse Thunder, the old stot Chestnut, and the palfrey Sweetfoot. In episode 2, Dunk sold Sweetfoot to get money to buy armor. Dunk promised that if he won in the tournament, he would buy Sweetfoot back. But Dunk never competed in the tournament. It was interrupted by his trial, and Dunk never made any money. So, in the book, Dunk doesn't get Sweetfoot back. But in the show, Raymun buys Sweetfoot for Dunk. It's a beautiful, thoughtful gift, and a reminder that Raymun of House Fossaway is far more rich than Dunk the Hedge Knight. Dunk decides to leave Sweetfoot with Raymun, because she'll be happy at Raymun's apple orchard. Dunk and Arlan often gave apples to Sweetfoot as a treat, so an apple farm is perfect for her. Raymun says Lyonel wants Dunk for a stag. A stag could be a word for a Baratheon soldier. But Dunk says that he won't join Lyonel. Dunk will live the simple life of a hedge knight, like Arlan. Raymun will start a new cider barreling business. In the books, Raymun's green apple Fossaways become House Fossaway of New Barrel, separate to Stefan's red apple Fossaways of Cider Hall. Arlan's sword has a penny in the hilt. Maybe Arlan nailed this penny to the tree at Pennytree until he came back from a war. Now Dunk hammers the penny into a tree to commemorate Arlan's death. Arlan didn't make it home to Pennytree in the end. The penny could also represent Dunk as he rides off for new adventures. Maybe Dunk will come back for the penny, if he survives. Dunk met great and terrible people at Ashford. He met princes, knights, smiths, whores. But the person who Dunk looks up to, whose values he follows, is still Arlan. the father he chose. As Dunk heads out, a crow or raven caws. A bird also cawed at the inn in episode 1. In the books, Egg's grunkle Bloodraven uses crows to spy, using the magic of skin changing, like Bran. Maybe Bloodraven is watching over Dunk and Egg, influencing events for his plans. Egg appears and says that Maekar agreed for Egg to join Dunk, so the friends are reunited, not as Sir Duncan and Prince Aegon, but as Dunk and Egg. Egg has shaved his Targaryen hair and wears plain clothes. He's dressed as a commoner again. Egg gets to live his dream of being a squire with the friend he loves. Dunk says they can go anywhere in the Seven Kingdoms, but Egg says there aren't 7 kingdoms in Westeros. There are 9. The North, Iron Islands, Vale, Riverlands, Westerlands, Crownlands, Reach, Stormlands, and Dawn. The idea of 7 kingdoms comes from the time before the Targaryens conquered Westeros. Before the conquest, there were no Crownlands, and the Iron Islands and Riverlands were one kingdom. These 7 kingdoms were ruled by 7 independent kings. That changed when the Targaryens conquered Westeros. Now there's just one king. But the name 7 Kingdoms is still used, even though it would be more accurate to call it the 9 regions. Just like in real geography, names are often messy and anachronistic. So, the title A Knight of the 7 Kingdoms is wrong in every way, because there aren't 7 kingdoms, but also because Dunk is not a knight, because Arlan didn't knight him. All of these words are wrong. All the social classes and politics and hierarchies are just made up. Dunk and Egg and Red change their place in the world through their words and actions, because all that's really real is our choices based on the values in our hearts. Dunk and Egg decide to go to Dawn, the deserty region in the south, ruled by House Martell. Egg's mother and grandmother were Dornish, and Tansel is Dornish. Maybe Dunk will reunite with his crush. Dunk and Egg ride into the sunset for new adventures. We see Arlan, like a ghost, riding in his own direction. Dunk's bond with Egg continues the legacy of his bond with Arlan. Arlan was not perfect, but Dunk learned good values from his master that he hopes to pass on to Egg. There is tragedy and cynicism in this story, but the ending is hopeful. George Martin's books explore the evil in the world. They show how our dreams don't always come true the way we hope, but the only way through darkness is with hope and idealism. Dunk embodies that hope, that romanticism, the heroic fool within us all. In the end, it turns out that Egg lied. Maekar didn't give permission for Egg to join Dunk. So, will Maekar come looking for Egg? This is a change from the books. The showrunner says future seasons will address this. A Knight of the 7 Kingdoms Season 1 adapted the first Dunk and Egg book, The Hedge Knight. Season 2 will adapt the second book, The Sworn Sword. Season 2 is being filmed now. It'll be 6 episodes and will air in 2027. The showrunner hopes to make a 3rd season adapting the 3rd book, The Mystery Knight, which could air in 2028. After Book 3, there are no more published Dunk and Egg books, but author George Martin has plans and ideas for 10 or 12 more Dunk and Egg stories. The showrunner hopes to make more seasons based on George's plans. So, theoretically, this show could go for 12 more seasons, telling the whole life stories of Dunk and Egg. We know some of Dunk and Egg's futures from the published books. If you want to know about Dunk and Egg's later adventures, watch our videos linked below. House of the Dragon Season 3 premieres in June. You can get ready for the new season by watching Dragon Time. In Dragon Time, Glidus and AltSwiftX discuss every episode of House of the Dragon. This is 38 hours of exclusive Hot D talk, which you can watch now on Nebula. Nebula also has Dunk Time, covering every episode of A Knight of the 7 Kingdoms, and Nebula has exclusive videos from hundreds of great creators, like Lindsay Ellis, who has a video about the adaptation of The Lord of the Rings, and a new video about South Park. Nebula is an independent, creator-owned site, and signing up helps support AltShiftX. With our link, you can get 50% off an annual subscription, making the price just $30 for a year. Sign up at nebula.tv/AltShiftX or nebula.tv/AltSwiftX. Thanks. Now let's talk spoilers. Spoiler warning. This episode suggests that Egg might go mad. According to the books, years from now, Egg becomes king, and Egg becomes obsessed with hatching dragons. He causes a mysterious fire at Summerhall that kills Egg and some of his family. So it sounds like Egg does go mad. In the books, Egg's grandson is the Mad King Aerys, the father of Daenerys. In the Game of Thrones show, the family tree is different, and Egg is the father of the Mad King Aerys. Dunk says that there might come a day when the realm needs his foot. According to the books, Dunk is at the deadly fire at Summerhall, and it's hinted that Dunk saves someone at Summerhall. Fans speculate that Dunk might save Princess Rhaella Targaryen, the mother of Rhaegar and Daenerys, the grandmother of Jon Snow. So maybe with his foot, Dunk saves the bloodline of Daenerys and Jon, the heroes who'll save the world from the White Walkers. So maybe Dunk does have a special destiny. Maybe that's why Baelor had to die. It seemed like Dunk dies at Summerhall. The official Ice and Fire app says that Dunk dies at Summerhall. But Egg's actor recently said that Dunk survives Summerhall. And that does fit with Daeron's dream in the show of a dead dragon and a fire and Dunk alive. Like that could refer to Egg dying at the fire at Summerhall, but Dunk surviving Summerhall. This is a surprising new hint, but the exact ending to Dunk and Egg's story is still a mystery. Thank you for watching Alt-Shift-X this season. We're making more videos about Westeros and Dune and other series, so like and subscribe. Thank you to everyone who supports and watches. Thanks to patrons Ethan, Nikolai Olsen, Doolittle Mike, Tyler Timpone, Tish Adams, Muhammad Al-Sulaimani, Ian Iskandar, Lance Gasho, and Wounded Bum. Cheers. White Walkers, take my balls!